The bank reconciliation prepared by Gat's company on May 31st appears as follows. The cash account in the general ledger appeared as follows on June 30th. So we have our first bank rec. This is from the last month. We've got our general ledger. For cash. So this is more what a general ledger typically looks like, not the balances of deposits and or receipts and disbursements. So this is a pretty standard general ledger. And we have our bank statement. Again, kind of split up in left and right, checks and deposits. So prepare a bank reconciliation at June 30th. Assume that any errors were made by the bookkeeper. Prepare the necessary entries resulting from the bank rec. So, let's set up our bank reconciliation. For one of the easiest marks you'll ever get, I think on the final there's about 5 of the easiest marks you can get just by putting the titles, just by ripping through and putting all the titles on all your pages, you're gonna get like 5 out of 70. And this is for June 30th. So what goes on the left? And where can we find our bank statement balance?
In the bank statement.
At the very bottom of our bank statement, we get our bank statement balance. For 8903.59. And we have a, what's on the right side?
Book balance.
And where can we find our book balance? Yeah, at the bottom of our general ledger for cash. So I'm not going to write it on the margins, but what is the left side of the bank rec for? Yeah, it's stuff that is in the ledger that is not clear the bank statement. So we've already accounted for it, but the bank hasn't shown it yet. So what is in the right side? Stuff that's in the bank statement, that's not in the ledger. So it's kind of the opposite of the titles. So let's have a look and see if there's anything that's in our ledger that is not in the bank statement. We'll start with the left side. Let's start with any deposits. So what is the first deposit that we were waiting to see? It was not here on May or June 9th. It was from May. May 31st, we deposited $982. It hadn't cleared yet in May. So let's have a look in our bank. And $982, 17 has cleared. So 982.17 is good to go. So now, what is our next deposit? What was our next debit to cash? Yeah, 42.85, 4,285. And has that cleared our bank statement? Yes, it has. Our next deposit to cash was 35.15.60. Has that cleared our bank statement? And our last one on the 29th of 18.45.35. Has that cleared our bank statement? No, it is not on our bank statement. So, if it's in our ledger but not in our bank, we need to add it to the left side. So, that was a deposit. When our cash deposit clears the bank, will that bring our bank balance up or down? Up, right? And that was for, so this one, so 18.45.35. And we can mark it down now. We've adjusted our bank balance for it. Someone just double check my math, please. Did I do that wrong? Sorry, I put 1843. That's 1845. Yeah. Make sure you double check these things because when you're trying to find where that $2 is at the end, it's going to drive you up the wall. All right, so now we know that all of our deposits have either cleared the bank statement or we've found them in the or we've added them to the reconciliation. Let's do our checks. And we're gonna and why do we deduct checks? Yeah, so we deduct them because once they clear our account, they're gonna bring our balance down, right? So we're gonna bring our balance down now. So, looking at our checks, what is the oldest check we have outstanding right now? Yeah, it wasn't written in June, it was written in May. 655.99. Has 655.99 cleared? It has. Our next oldest check, 1800. Has it cleared? So all of our May checks are now cleared. Check 883 for 1865.30. Has it cleared? Yes, it has. Check 884 for 1127. Yes, it is cleared. Check 885 for 650.84. It has cleared. Check 886 for 2018.45. Has cleared. Check 425.15. Check 887 for 425.15. All right, so we have an error. So again, prepare a bank reconciliation at June 30th, 2017. Assume that any errors were made by the bookkeeper. So what we need to do is if we need to change, so errors by the bookkeeper. So who could have made this error? Either the bookkeeper or the bank. So if it's an error by the bookkeeper, we need to adjust it on our book side. So anything that we do to adjust is going to happen over here. This is where all of our journal entries will take place. So if our bookkeeper wrote the check for, wrote the check for $245.15, and the bank cashed it correctly, but wrote in the general ledger that it was $425.15, what do we need to do? We need to adjust our general ledger. We need to adjust this entry. So, for now, we're not going to worry about it. We're going to just put a star beside it. Because remember, we put any adjustments to our book on the right side. This is where all of our journal entries will come from. So it has cleared. So we're not going to worry about it has cleared, so we'll move past it. We're not going to worry about adjusting our bank balance. Because at the end of the day, the bank is correct, right? If the bank is correct, we have to update our book balance. So check 888 for $3,040. Is that cleared? Okay. We'll come back to that mistake error in a little bit here when we get to the other side. So 40.6. And we can mark it cashed. Check 889 for $974. Yeah, it is cleared. Check 889 check 890 for $26.40. Nope, it has not cleared. Check 891 for $14.06.24. Has not cleared. Has it cleared, sorry? Alright, so 891 is another error. So it's not the same. So again, so these two, they've cleared, but whose error is it? Yeah, it's our bookkeeper's, not the bank's error. So if the bank did not make an error, that means the bank statement is correct and the ledger needs to be updated. How do we update our ledger?
On the right.
Exactly, with a journal entry. So for now we will move along. We'll just mark it down. Check 892 for $25.90.81. Has not cleared. And check 893 for $75.99. And it has not cleared. Oops. Is that right? And we get an adjusted bank balance of 2401.54. And we know that that's our last thing because we've gone through our entire ledger. Everything on our ledger has been accounted for. There are 2 errors we're going to fix. We're going to fix them on the right side here. But everything else has been accounted for, including our last one. So let's take a look and figure out what the errors are made by the bookkeeper. So the correct amount for the check was $245.15. The bookkeeper entered into the ledger $425.15. So is the book balance understated or overstated in its currently? It's overstated. What happened? What was it? It was the amount was too high in the credit balance, right? So we credited too much. So should the balance be higher or lower? The balance should be lower. So if this was 245.15 credit, this balance would be higher or lower? Higher. Right? Because credits do what to the balance? They bring them down. So we actually need our balance to go up by the difference. We actually need to debit. So what's the difference between 425.15 and 245.15? All right. So if this was actually 245.15, we would need this would be $180 more because we wouldn't have credited so much. Does that make sense? A little bit. So again, so our balance is understated because we credited too much. We decreased the balance too much, so our balance is. So we need to add back $180. We need to debit $180. How about this one here, 1406.24? On the bank it said 1,046. So this is correct. This is the right amount on the check, 1,046.24. It says 1406.24. So we credited more than we were supposed to. Does our balance, should it be higher or lower? Is our balance overstated or understated? It's understated. Our balance should be higher than it is. So the statement shows that it's lower than it should be. So we need to do what? We need to add back, we need to debit the difference to bring this balance up. And how much is it for? Is that right? Yeah. So we've already determined that because of these errors, our balance is understated. So we need to bring it back up to what it should be. So are we going to add or deduct our book balance? So Sorry? We're gonna add. Yes, we're gonna add. If this was 125.15, would we add or deduct? Yeah, we would have deducted, right? Because then it would be overstated. Right now it's understated because it's a credit balance. So again, there is no like rule over less because it depends. Is it a credit or is it debit? Debits and credits do different things to our balances, right? Was it over? Was it a mistake over or was it a mistake under? So there's 4 different things that could happen. It could be an overstated debit, an understated debit, an overstated credit, an understated credit. So just depending, you just kind of have to work it out and think about it. If you need to build a T-chart, you can do that, right? So if you need to go, okay, it was 7728, right? So our balance is currently 7728.5, and we credited 425.15, and our balance was 7303.35, right? You need to work it out slowly and you go, okay, so that's what we did, but what we should have done was our balance was 7728.50, but we should have credited 245.15, right? If you're just pretending going back in time and doing it properly, then our balance should have been 3, 8, 6, 4, 7. Right? Now you can see, oh, our balance should be higher, right? This is the correct one. Our balance is higher than the incorrect. So if you need to break it down step by step, you can do whatever you need to do to kind of wrap your mind around it, because it can be a little confusing. I can understand that. So however you need to break it down to get it right, that's all good. If you can just tell at a glance, that's great. If you want to do a T-chart and just redo this whole, you can use a scrap paper on the exam for that. However you need to kind of figure out where it should go. But now we can see, based on how the balance should be higher, right? This is the correct one. See how the balance is higher? So we know we need to add in the difference. The difference is $180 on this one, so that we can write our error. And why are we doing it on the right side? Because this is the items that have cleared the ledger that haven't cleared the bank. This is, and so anything that we need to journalize, we're going to put on the right side. This side does not affect, this is actually, so the bank was correct in all this, so we're not going to adjust the bank. So we have error on check 887. We're going to add $180. And here we can see that again it was we credited too much, so we'll also add the error. Check 891 for 360. And we get a total of 2,000. Okay, we still don't balance. Is there anything that is on our bank statement now? Now we've cleaned up our errors, so we can check those out. Is there anything on our bank statement that we haven't seen in our ledger? Exactly. A service charge is a charge added by the bank. They don't send us a letter or ask us to send a check, so we don't prepare it. They just take the money. Right? So we can deduct. So we need to deduct our book balance because we haven't accounted for it. And we can just write service charge. It's the only item. We can cross it off, $75. And 75. And we get an adjusted bank balance of 2401.54. So I can understand this part can be a little confusing. You really have to think hard on whether it's a debit or credit or what actually happened. The best way to kind of get the hang of that is just through practice. I think everyone's going to be able to get at least half marks and get this side done relatively easily, just going through. It's just cross-referencing. It's going to be the errors that are going to be the, and even the service charges, things like that are pretty straightforward. It's going to be the NSFs and the errors that are going to be the tough part. But just got to think kind of step by step, just like we did, and critically think and put it together. So how many journal entries do we need to do? 3 journal entries? Okay, let's go ahead and do them. So on June 30th, starting from the top, anytime we add to our book balance, what are we going to debit? Cash. Anytime we deduct from our book balance, what are we going to credit? Cash. Why is it always cash? What are we doing here? Yeah, because this is directly from our bank statement. So bank is cash, right? So on June 30th, we are going to debit cash for 180. And what does it say the check for 887 was for?
Office supply.
Office supplies. So we can credit, office supplies. Correct. There. After that one, we can debit our cash for 360. And what does it say the error was for in the example? Yeah, utilities expense. And finally, we have one more. So now this is a deduction. So what do we know when we deduct from our book balance? We're going to credit cash. What are we going to debit? Yeah, you can do bank fees or service charges or... And now if you were to do the bank reconciliation all over again, the right side would just be you wouldn't have any adjustments to make on the right side because the ledger would be updated to the new balance. So when I do my reconciliation for my business, usually I'll go through and I'll just do the bank charges and everything before I even start, so I don't have to make the adjustments.